just before I get started to say that it's based on a lot of stories that my mother and father told me growing up, plus a lot of dang lies, which I made up. But I also studied this history of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, because it's always been of great interest to me anyway, because I never heard the end of it from the day I was born, you know, all the time, and I just hated hearing it up to about, all of a sudden I was a young man, I thought, boy, that was fascinating. And it seems like I've written 5, 6, 7 books now that with this as its background. My father was 42 when I was born, and my mother was in her late 30s. Some of you heard this before, you know, I'm sorry, I'll try to keep it brief. But my father couldn't read or write. He traveled around part of the time in hobo on trains, and went from different towns in East Texas, and probably outside of, I don't know all, as I said before, you know, these are things you hear and you go, and now you wish you'd ask more questions. But my mother told me a little bit about it too, and he would hobo to different fairs, and he was a boxer and a wrestler. And
Oh my goodness.
And that's when he was a young man. He was born in 1909, so in the Great Depression, you know, he would have been just coming into his early young manhood. And my mother worked in field work and canneries over in Lansdale and different places like that. So they have, I guess, what you would call the, not just blue collar, but sort of the dirt collar version of it. And my mom bought my dad, my brother was 17 years older than me, so you can see the difference in it. I think I was an accident. I just suspect that. But my mother bought my father an old car. I don't know if it was a Model T or a Model A, because to tell you the truth, I get them confused. I once knew the difference. But she bought him a car. He wanted to be a mechanic. He couldn't read or write. She told him, take that car apart and put it back together. You can do it blindfolded. And he did. And that was his first way to start learning. And then he stopped to where he could do it with other cars. And he became a mechanic, and that's what he did all of his life. He retired as a mechanic about the time that computerized elements were coming in. And they were just starting. I mean, they were very, very basic. But he could see the handwriting on the wall. It was retirement time. Man, he retired. But all the time I was growing up, my mom is saving rubber bands. She's saving string. She's saving every damn thing. And it's practically, you know, I have to be careful. I'll turn out to be a hoarder, because I'm one of those that save everything. I'm making my wife throw stuff out. Her grandmother, you know, lived through the Depression. She has that same thing. So we, you know, really, do we need that old gum? You know, maybe we won't chew it again. Nothing that bad. But I think that the Great Depression, for those people who went through it, and for people like me who grew up in the 50s and the 60s, were impacted by it as well. Maybe not certainly as bad as those people who went through it, but because they were so impacted by it, that people who were born of Depression-era parents, and mine being older, put me in that position more so than some that were born during the same time I was. I think it gives you a different perspective on life and a different way of looking at things. But anyway, I want to sort of give my parents credit for their, and the book is dedicated to them, but for their driving me crazy with all those stories and making me save string, you know, things like that. And then once you save it, then when you need it, you don't know where the hell it is.
Right.
And then you have to go out and buy some string, and then now you got a whole lot of string, you know. So, but anyway, I'm going to read a little bit of this.